Anger in the age of Aquarius. So Mars is in Aries and it will be retrograding. Chiron is in Aries for many years, and we are either on the precipice or we have already been for a while, and either way some of us are more in the age of Aquarius than others. So from now on I'll just be talking of now as that we are already in it and starting it or at the beginnings of it. So two things. A shadow expression of Aquarius is activism, in my view. A long held view based on observation. And why? It's because it's a misplaced anger, or rather misdirected anger. So it's anger at something that hurt you, but because you haven't stood up for yourself, because you were too small or properly couldn't, or you had your reasons, which are always valid because they're yours, and it's your experience, you're now taking it upon yourself to fight for others. And this is one of the uncomfortable topics that I struggle to talk about, in the sense that I just feel, not because I'm gonna get backlash, but now I just ignore the backlash, or rather, I take it in and I read it maybe, and I see what actually is worth me taking and working with, and what not. I don't engage. But the reason I struggle is that I, in the same breath, acknowledge its power, or rather its use and its greatness. So every time I speak of this, so far not publicly much, if ever, but when I think about it, when I write about it in my own journal, I always think of suffragettes, and if it wasn't for them, how the vote for women voting wouldn't necessarily happen. So the reason why I struggle is that I don't want to be disrespectful, because I'm not, of the movement of people endangering their lives to push to change the way things are done in the society. But at the same time, I do still maintain that when we do step into a space where we say, okay, now I'm gonna fight for you, all of you behind me, if you're following me, as in if I'm the leader, or just all these people who haven't got a voice, it's because their voice, it's your voice. And my point here is that when you do that, you come from a place of anger. So that's because you're angry at whoever has done stuff to you. Sorry, I think I've been looking down into my own face. I'm still getting a hang of this video making stuff. Because you're coming from anger. And at the root of everything I speak about, of my life experience, or the way I live my life, the way I keep my awareness sharp and clean energetically, is that it is really all energy. So if you are doing something from a place of anger, you're just adding anger to the energies around you, and that's really it. So this is not a moral judgment, that it's wrong to be an activist. I certainly have worked in places where I took up on that role, not in a sort of classic sense of activist, but I was speaking it was in youth clubs. I worked for the delinquent kids or kids with behavioral difficulties or whatever. So I definitely took it upon myself to be a spokesman for them, or a spokesperson, but or at least to kind of to be their guardian or to be their guide. And so my point is, in itself, there's nothing wrong with, and not just because I've done it, all I'm saying is just because I can relate to it, because the intentions are good, like the intentions are noble, and they are the kind of hero Aries myth. But I suppose my suggestion is the way to do it so you don't add to the anger around you. And as you can see in the world, not just currently, but for centuries, we had too much anger externalized, because we bring it to whatever we're doing, which is activism, as in we are doing something for the world, we are doing something on behalf of A, B, C, D, whoever. And we're only able to do that because we know the pain and we're angry about the pain. We're angry that it happened to us and we let it happen. So now we're going to show the world how we can do it. But essentially it's a way of hiding behind the group. So again, if you're hiding because you genuinely, your life is in danger, of course. But if you're hiding because you don't want to deal with your stuff, then you are bringing not a clean, you're not adding goodness to the world, is my point. You're adding messed upness. And there's nothing wrong with messed upness. Maybe just sit with it and clean it up yourself before you then, from that place of love, even though the L word is tainted in so many ways, and there'll be many videos coming on this topic. But for the moment, just bear with me in a kind of more generic sense of like being coming from a place of where there's no fear, right? So whatever that is, let's call it love. So you're doing something because you love doing it. Do you see what I mean? So hence, back to the beginning of this video, that activism is a shadow of Aquarius. Is, even if you think of the myth, the Prometheus, I mean, he kind of he brought havoc to the humanity that he, helped with the fire. Yeah, fire is an amazing invention, and of course, again, another one of those that I'm not going to diss because it's, and I genuinely am grateful for it. But it could have been done without causing more mess before, and much more mess before anywhere near we were to make good use of it. Do you see what I mean? So it's almost like taking one leap forward, then taking about 100 steps, painful steps backward, and then going back forward again, step by step. Do you see how the process is broken? It's not actually, efficient. So that's why activism, in the sense that it's coming from an anger placement, or some kind of self-aggrandizement. No, I don't think I'll be able to do this one. Basically just, arrogance, that, I am, best. You can speak for them, right? So, because they can't speak for themselves. So think about that as well. Like, how patronizing is that? I mean, if it's someone like animals, and children, sorry, just something happening in the woods, then their argument is not there necessarily, and yes, definitely not. But my point is, if you're like just speaking on behalf of people who actually can speak for themselves, I mean, again, the intention may be great and they may need help, but until it's a kind of victim disempowering kind of dynamic. Yeah, the way I would say, the Aquarian way, the emancipated way, is to help them. So you don't turn to the public and have them behind you, so you're their spokesperson. Even if this metaphor I'm just describing isn't necessarily visual, it's not really what's happening, but you're kind of taking up that megaphone and you speak for them. Your role, if you want to help, if you want to do the Aquarius thing, whatever, you turn to them, right? You turn to them and you speak to them, and then and you let them go out. So you help them be their own best spokespeople. That's not shadow. That's the not shadow one. That's the emancipated Aquarius that actually helps everyone be an Aquarius in themselves. It doesn't, like Prometheus, take up and he goes, oh, I'm gonna just, be the hero. Not that those were Prometheus' necessarily thinking and thoughts as he did what he did. But yeah. So I don't know if this has triggered all kinds of anger issues when you listen to this or not. But again, if you follow me and you know what that means, it's like just sit with that anger and see what it's about. And the invitation here really from me is to just consider that doing anything from anger is just bringing more anger to the table that you claim as an activist that you want to clean up. And you might clean up with whatever other angers are there that you want to get out of the way. But if anything that at the root and at its engine has anger, I don't think it's like revolutions, just the same story the same problems with different characters and in different clothes and in different different faces. And that's why I don't think they work the way they're done, because they come from anger. You're replacing one angry lot with another angry lot. Yeah, this other angry lot is just specific, and it will help certain groups, but then they will be overthrown and there will be another group, but it's always anger, and they become oppressors. This is the old revolutionary kind of story, or rather the way to look at revolutions. I have always, and I come from a very war-torn part of the world, so again, I have seen this in real life, how it doesn't work. And with my Pluto, Jupiter on my South Node and Uranus, I think I'm speaking from endless timelines, different lifetimes, of seeing this not work. So, okay, this was far longer video than I intended, but there's a lot of that is, I think, really valuable, as in to consider, and maybe just approach these themes of activism, revolutions, speaking on behalf of anyone from a different place, just a different place, not an angry place, that's all. Okay.